This week on Media Delta. The Dirty Pair franchise was not only one of the first animated manga series to come to the United States and other Western territories, it served as an icon of what 80s anime was. Its two heroines and explosive action served as something that could bring worldwide audiences to a Japanese-born franchise. After being successful in Japan in both light novel and anime forms, a theatrical movie named Dirty Pair Project Eden was made. It was a critical success, an example of early anime that was brought over to the West, relatively close to when it was actually originally released. In Japan, the movie was popular enough to spawn a game for the Famicom Disk System made by Bandai. When we looked at it during Retro Ink Rhapsody, we found the game to be of, well, incredibly poor quality. Was the video game a sign of the quality of the movie? Or was it just another case of low-quality video games being made based on other media? Let's find out as we take a look at the movie Dirty Pair Project Eden. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Media Delta, in which we talk about movies, TV shows, games, or TV shows, books, and other things based on games that have been ranked during Retro Ink Rhapsody. Today's episode is kind of an interesting one because mostly when we have compared, so far all we've done are movies and OVAs based on games that have generally been held in relatively high regard. This is an interesting case because this is based, we are doing this because of a game that we ranked that is actually currently sitting at the bottom of our resistance list. And that is Dirty Pair Project Eden. That was for the Famicom Disk System, based on the movie Dirty Pair Project Eden, which is what we are talking about today. Before we get into what this is, I have two other guests with me to talk about this, kind of what's going to end up being this franchise and also this movie. So, with me, I have in alphabetical order.
Hi, this is Carnival. We actually got a good one this time.
Yes, we'll see how good it is as we get later on.
Hi, I'm Torpo, and let me tell you about my love of Dirty Pair.
Yes. Yes, Dirty Pair is certainly a thing. If you are not familiar with Dirty Pair, then you are probably not familiar with 80s anime, because Dirty Pair is kind of almost, if you could think of any sort of anime series and kind of tie it to an era, Dirty Pair is probably the most 80s anime that you can possibly get.
Shit, I thought it was Bubblegum Crisis.
Well, that too, but also Dirty Pair. I bet you that I could get. I bet you Bubblegum Crisis. You know what? Actually, I'd take that back because if you go with the lineage of Bubblegum Crisis, then you'd also have Gal Force, which I think kind of came out around the same time. Although, if you really want to go into it, the novel started out, or that Dirty Pair is based on, started out in May 1980. So, I bet you that Dirty Pair had a pretty good inspiration on a lot of other anime.
Oh my god, just get on with it.
Yes. So, Dirty Pair. It was originally a series of novels that turned into, I believe, then from the novel turned into an anime series, which then turned into some OVAs and also the movie that we're talking about now. If you're not familiar,
it also got a reboot.
That too, Dirty Pair Flash. Also, there's a weird American comic series
done by Adam Warren.
Yes.
We're just not gonna. Don't worry about it. It never happened.
Okay. So, if you're not familiar with what Dirty Pair is the kind of the. Not, I wouldn't call it the code name because it's not their code name. It is the kind of name that is given to the basically two ladies who are named Kay and Yuri. They are what are in the future referred to in the universe that they exist in. They are considered trouble consultants. They work for the WWWA or the World Welfare Works Association or the 3WA. They are people who live in the United Galactica, and which basically is a federation that has a bunch of different planets in it. And basically what they do is they solve problems. And the codename that they take when to do these problems, they consider themselves the Lovely Angels. But the problem with them is, and the reason why they have the name Dirty Pair, is basically they get the job done. But good luck if your planet's still existing when they are actually done. Because they basically destroy more things than they are basically almost as destructive as the things they're trying to stop. Which is perfectly shown off in this thing. So this is actually a pretty good clue, or a pretty good thing to start it with if you are not familiar with the franchise.
This movie is an incredible encapsulation of everything that is Dirty Pair,
yeah. So let's talk a little bit more in depth into our two Lovely Angels. So first off, we got Kay. Kay is a redhead. She is the more feisty of the two, I guess. She is more, rambunctious. And she is... So, one thing I should go into before we go into the characters is that this has actually been dubbed twice. There was originally a Streamline dub of this that came out, I believe, in the early 90s. And then there was a later 2002 dub that was done by ADV. So I will be listing both voice actresses for basically I'll list the Japanese and both American or both Western English voice actors. So for Kay, original voice actor is Kyoko Tangu, who did not really do much that we are probably familiar with, but I did point out two in particular that more apply to me than anyone else. She voiced the main character Saru from the anime of Pro Golfer Saru, which I would only point out because that I think that actually just got a recent something or other based on it. But there's also another Famicom Disk System game based on that, so we might end up having to look at that sometime in the future. But the one that I more enjoy, she also voiced Smith in an anime series that I love because it's so ridiculous, that is named Ginga Naberoshi Jin, which is basically Fist of the North Star, but with dogs. It is a fascinating series, and I am very sad that there is no video game based on it, so we can't take a look at it.
Damn it!
But her English voice actors are for the Streamlab dub, Laura Cody and Pemer Lauer for the ADV dub. I'm not super familiar with either of those names. Perhaps do either one of you familiar with it?
Not really, but also I'm not that familiar with a lot of voice actor names.
Okay, so let me see if I can quick find... let's see, okay, Laura Cody, she has done... she was apparently the voice of Kay in Akira. She's the voice actress of Rosemary in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Oh!
Okay! Huh! It's amazing what writing does for the way a character is received, then.
Which is a very interesting casting for her being Kay. And then, let's see, Pam Lauer for the ADV dub. Apparently she has done Kay. That is like the main thing that she seems to have done. Yeah, that seems to basically be it. Yeah. So there's that. Also, let me make sure I got that in the order. Okay. Yeah, that is the right order. Okay. So that is Kay. But her partner in crime is Yuri, who is... I guess she's meant to be more of the traditional kind of... What is it? Nadeshiko kind of thing? Where she is the traditional Japanese long blue hair, kind of more quiet, more... I guess coy, maybe could be a way.
Barely. It's like it's a comparative thing, but yeah,
she's a bit more subdued to Kay's fiery.
Yes, subdued is probably a better way to describe it. So her voice actresses are Seiko Shimatsu, whose other work was Shinobu in Urusei Yatsura. Also is the current voice of Yoshi.
Huh.
Um,
That's some stable work then.
yeah. So her voice actress in the Streamline dub was Wendy Lee. And
Wendy Lee, okay.
Yeah, and the ADV dub was Alison Summerall, who I'm gonna do Alison Summerall. Let's see what she has done. She was Kagura in Azumanga Daioh. She was looking through here. Doesn't look like it was anything else major. She seemed to have voice acted in Girls in Panzer. The only other name that's coming to mind. Yeah, she voiced someone in Parasite. Also someone in Uptote. But yeah, so she is that. And so also Wendy Lee. Wendy Lee being a very prolific voice actress, because I can actually recognize her name. You want to go through some of her voice actor cards, or do you?
Harahai Shizuma.
Oh, right. Also, Kanata Izumi from Lucky Star.
I'm sorry. The thing is, she has so many roles that, like, other than Harahai Shizuma, like, I have to actively think, because it's the same way. Like, go ahead.
She is also Black Rose in Dot Hex Sign. Oh, which is going to be fitting when we talk about who actually worked on this. Yui Hongo from Fusugi Yugi. And that seems to be... also Nadia from Nadia's Secret of Blue Water.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh. Yeah, also...
Wait, let me get a good look at this.
Also...
IMDb.
Yeah, also seems to be Trish from Devil May Cry. Veronica, that's Fire Emblem Heroes, that's not that. Yeah, that's probably the major ones that I at least noticed, but I'm sure Torpa will find some more notable ones.
Like I said, that would be like if we got Yuri Lowenthal as one of the voice actors, it'd be like, okay, he's big, and there's like the list is too big to.
Okay, y'all fucking glossed over a pretty important one, which is Faye Valentine from Cowboy Bebop.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I suppose that's a big one.
She was also Twilight Suzuka and Outlaw Star. Let's see what else.
Yeah, so...
Just trying to remember. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of... She's a pretty big voice actress.
Incredibly prolific.
But yeah, those are the two main characters of Dirty Pair throughout the series. But we are specifically talking about Dirty Pair Project Eden, which is an actual theatrical film. So this actually came out in theaters, as compared to the OVAs that we've looked at so far. So yes, it did have a budget.
It had money.
Yes. It had a lot of money, it seemed. Well, it had more money than what we've seen so far. I don't think it's listed here. No, it is not listed here. Also, I just want to point out I have IMDb open for the page for Dirty Pair Project Eden, and there is a connection that I want to point out that I am baffled by this. Connections referred to in Barbie the Pearl Princess 2014.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, referenced in Barbie the Pearl Princess 2014.
Okay, then.
Also, they're listing that it's referenced in Mulan because of the bubble bath taken. That's gotta be... That's a stretch.
That's definitely a stretch.
Okay, maybe that's not as direct, but anyway. So yes, Dirty Pair Project Eden came out originally in... Just had it. Came out originally November 28th, 1986. So... Almost actually, we were actually very close to the 23rd. No, not 23rd. 40th. I can't math. some third number of anniversary of this thing. So should point out the director of this, because this has a pretty interesting director. And it is one of the not the first, but one of the first directorial works by one Koichi Masumo, who is a name that, if you're familiar with anime, you might know him as the founder of a was it an animation group called B Train?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and some of the works that B Train did were, I believe, was it Dot Hack, Mad Lax?
Let's see, Noir. There was also Cazador de la Bruja. There was they also did the they did the original Dot Hack sign. They also did Dot Hack Liminality, which were the discs that came with the Dot Hack games.
Yes.
B Train is really good, and also they're responsible for helping and bringing about one of my favorite anime composers.
So
let me
yeah,
chase up my undying love of Yuki Kajiura.
So one other thing that he worked on, I don't believe was B Train, but he also worked on Dominion Tank Police, which is also very interesting. So he's the main director of this. Apparently this was written by one Hiroyuki Hoshiyama, who didn't seem to have anything other major, but he was apparently an episode writer for the original Gundam. He also wrote episodes for City Hunter and Urusei Yatsura. So apparently a lot of people who worked on Urusei Yatsura are being talked about today. So yes, that's kind of the production. Production company was Nippon Sunrise. Let's see. So that is kind of the more major people behind it. One thing that I do want to point out, because it is something that is future prominent in the movie, and that's the music. The music in this thing is fantastic.
Yes.
And this one is probably a little bit too popular that I don't want to actually play it in case we get in trouble for it. Because I bet you that this is something that probably would actually have, yeah.
No,
I was actually listening to the soundtrack for the next few days after we watched this together.
Yeah, so just to point out, a majority of this music was written by one Miki Matsubara, who apparently wrote the songs Safari Eyes, which is the opening theme. There is an insert song that is called Over the Top, which is apparently to the tune of Safari Eyes, and also the ending theme, which is Pas de Deux. It's French. Pas de Deux, maybe? Pasdedeux.
Bitch, I don't know French.
Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I apologize to anyone who speaks French. But there was apparently another insert song that is called Matters to Me. That was by the band Poker Face. Which was apparently sung in English, even in the Japanese version. And it seems like one of the production companies in English did do some dubbing for the music, it seemed like. I believe some of the songs were more in English than it seemed like they...
that was actually the songs themselves.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Having listened to the soundtrack several times at this point.
Okay. So... guess we'll just leave it at that. So, let's actually talk about the movie itself. So, I can't exactly remember what version of which dub we couldn't figure out which dub we actually watched. Do you remember?
Which one was Wendy Lee in?
Wendy Lee was in the Streamline one.
Then I think we watched the ADV one.
Okay. So... just to point out, just a fun thing, because it's funny whenever I see his name. The Streamline version was apparently directed by one Carl Masek. So, apparently, I don't think it must have had that much of an impact, because if I remember correctly, he is one that kind of cut a lot of older anime back in the early 80s. Or not early 80s, but like in the 90s. But, yeah. So yeah, I don't know which one it is, and I think like this hasn't like been. I mean you can definitely find this on DVD, but I don't think you're getting anything higher than that. But yeah, so let's actually talk about the movie itself. So, this movie starts out kind of in a really weird kind of fantasy space ski resort. Like, people are just skiing in space, and there's just a bunch of people walking through a ball looking all fancy.
Wasn't it also like people in fucking swimsuits and shit too?
Yeah, they were swimming in like pools that were like filled entirely of space. Like, it's those, like, have you seen the pictures of like the pools that are like over open air, and you can just, it looks like you can just see, looking at the bottom of the pools just going straight down. It's kind of like that, but in space. And it was very interesting opening. The thing about this space deal, or the space station, while this is going on, you have a kind of a plot dump talking about this fantasy kind of material called Visorium that basically is a highly smuggled kind of thing because it's used in some, I believe it was powerful, like, was it explosives or it was something that was basically...
It's necessary for space travel, dude.
Oh, right. So, yeah. That is what Visorium is, and we see a Visoria smuggling deal going down that looks almost like a drug deal, with this woman in a wig, or this blonde-haired woman, I should say, because, I mean, it's very clearly shown that, like, even from the opening, that this is definitely one of the dirty pair, namely it's K.
It is K.
That is going on with this drug deal. That basically she tries to arrest the people, but ends up getting into a massive gunfight, and almost gets the thing, but almost gets the Visorium, but it is taken by one of the people who were in the deal at the very last moment. But one of the things that kind of threw them off was Yuri coming in hot in her own little space thing. That was coming down and actually like landed on this little space station that they were on, and kind of did she blast her way through in, or was it just that, or no? I think one of the bad guys like blew a hole or set a bomb. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was they set a bomb or some sort of explosive went off.
Yeah, and
I think specifically they set a bomb as a trap.
Right. But they end up capturing one of them, but they see that one of them gets away with the Visorium. And then, in that explosion, Kay and Yuri managed to get away, but then an entire space elevator just blows up. So...
Just the whole way down, it fucking explodes.
Yeah, it is just
millions of people die.
Yes. At that point, after that, basically it's a shot of a space elevator, and then you get a Naked Lady Bond intro. And that is the intro of the movie, which is very fitting for theming of Dirty Pair. And yeah, it is a pretty good opening.
It also really helps set the tone for what these characters are and how they work.
Yes. It is
basically... They do their job. But damn... if you're not their target, you're damned, because your world is doomed.
Even if you are their target, you're damned.
Yes. Because they definitely...
they get the job done, but at what cost?
Oh yeah. That definitely is basically their modus operandi.
Because basically this planet had a giant artificial ring around it, which had been used by people, and connecting to the planet was a space elevator, and they completely blew it up the whole way down.
Oh yeah. So yeah, speaking of blowing up, immediately after the intro, we get a scene of aliens blowing up a Visorium mining plant. I believe it was a Visorium mining plant. To which, after that, I have in my notes as the second most uncomfortable typing scene in an anime, because we get a vision, not a vision, but we get to see the main bad guy of this movie, because the thing is that he has like 3.5 millimeter jacks all over his body, which is uses to plug into various computers. And you get
it's specifically like on the sides of his head and also on the backs of his hands, and it is deeply uncomfortable to look at.
Yes.
Yeah.
In which I also point out that I see the 3.5 millimeter jack is actually a thing in this future. And after that, which I should also mention, we don't learn his name until later, but that is one Dr. Wattsman, who
has his own theme, and it is amazing. Can you play the Wattsman theme?
I don't have
no,
available.
we can't play any of the themes. Torpid.
No!
We get content ID or the
It's so
equivalent
good,
podcast.
Go, you listening to the podcast, you go look it up. It's really good. Won't get us in trouble for playing it. But I should point out that he is voiced in Japanese by one Chikao. Let's see, that is Chikao Otsuka. So his voice, what he has voiced, he was Goemon in the original Lupin the Third TV show. He was Tao Pai Pai in Dragon Ball, but also, incredibly fittingly, he is also the current voice of Eggman in Japanese. So, yes, that worked out pretty well. In the Streamline dub, he was voiced by Steve Kramer, and in the ADV dub, he was voiced by John Swayze. So, Steve Kramer, if I'm looking at some of his things that he worked on, let's see, he was over here. A lot of these names I'm not familiar with. Let's see. Oh yeah, let's see. He also apparently did a lot of actual like acting. Oh, he was a bit into Golden Girls apparently. He's the professor from Ape Escape. He did a voice in as some of the soldiers in Drakengard. He is. Maybe this makes sense to you guys because I've not watched Naruto. He is the third Hokage.
Ah, okay.
A lot. He was also some voices in Skyrim. So
Maybe that is the Streamline one. I'm still not sure.
He's also banned Shinigami from Blaze Blue.
Hell yeah!
So, sure. That is the Streamline actor. Let's see. What about John Swayze? Let's see. Looks like a lot of. Let's see. He's Van Honenheim from Fullmetal Alchemist.
The dad.
Oh. Okay. Oh, he's Gendo Ikari in the director's cut of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Is also. These names are not familiar. Sir Crocodile in One Piece.
I think so.
Oh, yeah,
he's Wong in Darker Than Black.
Okay.
Also, it's going down this list. I thought it said Undertaker from something, and it was from Black Butler or Death and Soul Eater. It's also a voice director, apparently, so yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we see there is our villain for this thing, and you can definitely tell that he is very much a almost stereotypical mad scientist kind of dude. Yes, as Butler. I forgot who his name was.
He's also just kind of an idiot.
He is also very much an idiot. Was the Butler's name Bruno?
Maybe.
I probably should have written that down.
Whatever, just.
But yes, let's continue on with the plot, because his butler also brings up he is basically constantly trying to get his master to drink and eat, which he fails to do so. Which you can definitely see because he's a very thin and very old man. But then he just
constantly gets caught up in his work.
Yes. So after that, we kind of get to the thing that causes the Dirty Pair to get involved. After the plant explodes, which has basically took place in what is essentially that area, that planet's version of Russia. Or it seemed like it was going for a very Soviet Union kind of thing, or very much workers are assigned or something like that. Or at least the guy who was like the director of it seemed very like a stereotypical.
Basically, all the plants are state-owned and run by the state, and the workers there are state workers.
Yes. But then
I think this is something like 60% of jobs are government jobs.
Something like that. It was a very high number. Basically, he ends up calling this dude who is, we could just describe him as extremely American. From his
just burly ass motherfucker fucking his secretary.
That's not until later, but yes. But yeah, he is basically yes, him and his secretary. Who basically this guy was he wearing a cowboy hat?
No, he wasn't.
But he had basically the thing that I have written down.
He looked like a lumberjack ass motherfucker.
I have written down in my notes, "Hello, American who believes in capitalism," because that is something that he says. And then also, the other line I like from this exchange where basically the director guy is complaining to the American dude that basically, and basically the guy's like, "Now hold up, asshole," or something like that. And the guy's like, "Did you just call me an asshole? Or did you just say asshole or something like that?"
The dialogue is really good.
Yeah, they did a really good dubbing job on this. So,
so he had a baseball cap.
Yeah, that's what it was. He had a baseball cap.
He's got like huge fucking sideburns. He's hairy as hell. He just it's great.
Yeah.
He's got jeans and suspenders with like a button-down shirt that he doesn't button all the way up, so you can just see his chest.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's really good.
Also, as a quick aside, these are the two main manufacturers of Visorium on the planet. The state-run one, that part of it, they produce and refine the Visorium on their end, while the ultra-American motherfucker, what they do is they just take the raw Visorium and export it.
Yes.
And this is actually also a point of contention between the two sides.
Yes. So, in order to look into that, basically his secretary ends up hiring the Dirty Pair, the Angels, excuse me, to actually look into this and see why are these plants being basically exploding. It's also interesting because you see them go onto the planet, and also I believe it's at this point where I just have the note of impromptu dance number, which is where we see Yuri just dancing along to a song that is playing in the background, and it's like a mini music video.
I mean, this entire movie is a mini music video at points.
Yes. Also, I believe here I have the note, or the piece of dialogue that came from the director guy that was really good. And I just have the note, "Why don't you keep your propaganda in your asshole?" I can't exactly remember the context of that, but I just wanted to point out that that's what I have written in my notes.
The answer is the state-run one is very, very big on that.
Yes. So, basically they start arriving at the base and see that it is kind of deserted because there's nothing there. So they're just kind of taking a look around. But what do they come across but some baths? So they decide to just, in the middle of taking a look, just take a bath. It is at this point where we are introduced to another character, which we have actually seen before, because it turns out that it is the guy who ended up running up with the Visorium during the drug bust. Or not the drug bust, the Visorium kind of smuggling bust. So he is doing things, he is kind of going around in the vents of the plant in order to kind of kind of scope the thing out. And once you know it, he happens to come across Kay and Yuri in the bath. And once you manage to find out that he falls out of the bath and lands exactly where you imagine that he would. Or no, I think I think that he ending up landing in Yuri's bath, and then ends up getting kicked out into Kay's bath, where he lands in a very convenient, a very gropey position. And it is very 80s anime hijinks that are kind of problematic. But anyway, yes, this is where we are introduced more formally to Carson D. Carson, who has an interesting set of voice actors. Namely, his Japanese voice actor is Katsuki Mori, who is definitely a veteran because there's two big names associated to him, namely Cyborg 009 and also Ken the Eagle from Gatchaman, or kind of big and kind of old roles. His Streamline voice actor is Kerrigan Mahan, and his ADV voice actor is David Matraga, which let me see real quick if I can see anything about either of these two. He voice acted Champ in Zillion. He is Yamcha in the Harmony Gold version of Dragon Ball.
Harmony Gold in a version of Dragon Ball?
Yes, and it cut out a lot. But it's Dragon Ball Classic, so they definitely did a lot of cutting out. Oh, also apparently he did voices in things like Dr. Dolittle. He was a voice actor in Bebe's Kids.
Ugh.
He did a couple voices in Halo 2. Also apparently some in some various versions of. He also did some stuff. Oh, he's Goldar from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But yeah, that is what's his name? Kerrigan Mahan, and we also have David Matranga. Who, let's see. He was Genjo Sanzo in Sayuki. Braeros in Appleseed Ex Machina. At this, let me scroll down and see more recent stuff. Let's see. Shota Todoroki in My Hero Academia.
Oh no.
He has some voices for Italia, but it's not people that I know. These are kind of the major names that I've recognized. So, that is David Matranga. Matranga. So, after Carson introduces himself and has fun hijinks, he kind of joins them for the ride, or basically they kind of capture him and handcuff him to turn him in. But it was at this point where they end up getting attacked by xenomorphs, or things that look like xenomorphs. And
like you do.
Weirdly enough, they're attracted to Visorium for some reason. So basically once they get attacked, they realize, let's just get out of here. They all leave on their hovercraft, where basically Kay and Yuri interrogate Carson, who is just in his underwear. And they're kind of doing the thing where they're about to kick him off the thing while it's flying. So basically they kind of trying to interrogate him for a while. They don't really find anything. And basically after that, they kind of realized, oh, hey, something... They realized, actually, while we're trying to work on this, I think we saw kind of similar motives. Let's just kind of work together on this after a while.
No, it was let's work together and just let's not get in each other's ways.
That's probably more right. So, at this point...
Also, they are barely clothed this entire time.
I mean, they are
They
in
have
general, but
basically
they are
torn up
especially.
towels to use them as clothes, and then when they start fucking with the other dude, they steal his clothes and cut it up to make more covering outfits, though not by much.
Yeah, not by much. But then again, their normal outfit's not covering much either.
So that dude's now in his undies, and they're scantily clad as well.
Yes.
And they are dressed like this for the rest of the fucking movie.
Yep.
So after this, we get a cut to Dr. Watson working on an experiment featuring. There's just a woman or a naked woman just sitting in a jar. Then he has her come out of the jar. Then she melts. Also, there's a lot of flashing in this movie.
There's
especially
an
the scene.
unfortunate amount of flashing.
Yeah, if you are prone to like seizures or anything, this is not a movie you'd want to watch.
Or if just in general you're very sensitive to flashing lights.
Yes. But then they kind of crawl around, they kind of lurk around the base a little bit, trying to look at things. Then they end up getting into the whole what is it, that he is a man, so therefore stronger or something like that, and also
gender politics.
Just basically a bunch of nonsense gender politics kind of stuff.
Truths.
There we go. That's the word. Nonsense.
And basically end up getting into a spat that ends up getting their gun kicked into the area that they need to be in. So, and then they try and I think, are they trying to kind of get down into the area, or are they trying to get the gun? But he ends up falling, or no, Kay ends up falling into it, trying to grab the gun, which Yuri tries and picks her up. But then Carson tries and picks Yuri up. The problem is that this is a Dirty Pair thing, and also an 80s anime, so he grabs her by the bikini bottom. So basically almost ripping it off.
Also, before they fell in, we get a shot of Watson talking to a stone, if memory serves, and yelling out about something like genetic record, and also going on about how what's in that stone has been biding its time collecting genetic information.
So it can survive past the human race.
Yes.
Yup.
So,
yes. we basically learned his MO, which is basically making a species to go beyond the human race.
Yes. That is the Project Eden, which has an acronym, but I forgot to write it down. Whoops. And yeah, basically after that scene, and also there's a thing where they like try and point a gun at each other, kind of forgetting the fact that there's actually two guns between them.
Yeah, that was like, what happened? You have the other gun, you can...
So, yeah, that was a weird kind of thing. Also, at that point where we realize that Kay has the hots for Carson. Like you do in this kind of movie. Also, the area that they go, and then they kind of lower themselves down into the area that Dr. Watson is in, which has a lot of hexes in it, I noted. It is very much like a European board game. There's a lot of hexes. So, with that, also, I have written down that actually before, basically he kind of leaves. Also, at this point, Dr. Watson has some sort of orb bath. Which, like,
it's really weird.
Like, he's just sitting in a bathtub that's filled with these pink orbs that look like they're cushiony. Just
rolling around in them. It's weird.
Yeah, and it's like trying to wipe himself off also, or like brush himself.
Mm-hmm.
It looks kind of uncomfortable. And yes, this is also a scene when Kay and Yuri are end up getting spotted in Carson. There's a fight scene that plays, which I point out that the old man gets his own theme while the fight scene plays. Also, I noted down that the action in this movie kind of looks like it would fit into a Laserdisc game.
That's right. You even said that.
Yeah, it just has that kind of, whoop, here's something, and then it react. Like, you could map that onto a Laserdisc game pretty easily.
Also, if memory serves, the aliens at this point start coming alive from the stones.
Correct. Also, at this point, basically, they end up getting or I should say, Kay and Carson end up getting captured by being sucked up into this vacuum thing, where they have a scene where they are holding hands, trying not to get captured, but they end up letting go and then end up getting into the tubes. Then this weird existential, weird philosophical scene plays. That's basically just colored, like it's just a colored space and then them or the two of them in like figures just standing there talking to each other. You're not exactly sure what's going on. But then when they wake up, they are basically in these capsules. Also at this time,
suspended in weird barrel things.
Yeah. Then Yuri has managed to find monster camouflage.
No, it's not she manages to find monster camouflage. It's she kills her way through a bunch of monsters and ends up under one of the bodies.
Yes. Basically, Kay and Carson. Also, at this point, since I believe, apparently, there's something like that. Basically, with Kay and Carson, they end up getting their DNA scanned,
Extracted.
Yeah, extracted. Yeah. And at this point, this is where the base opens up and basically just becomes a Dr. Wily's fortress. Like, it is just straight up.
He extracts the DNA thinking that they are the next step in evolution after all his attempts for these aliens. He thought they were aliens specifically. So he extract their information and start using it in more of them so he can build more of this alien race.
Yes. So, now that Dr. Wattsman has almost completed his thing, it is time for him to open up the drink that he has been saving all this time. And it is at this point in which we have another key plot point of this movie. And the entire reason why it basically get Carson's backstory. Because it turns out Carson is not after like Dr. Wattsman or anything that he is doing. He is after a bottle of wine.
The victory wine.
The victory wine that Charles de Gaulle had sealed away. Because at this point in the future, only like 5 bottles of it last. And Dr. Watson was saving it for when he finished Project Eden to drink of it. So that's vinegar.
It's fucking vinegar.
That's going to be nasty.
Yeah, it's vinegar.
It's hundreds of year old wine. Like, no, that's fucking vinegar.
Yeah. Also, we pointed out, or we noted, the eugenics doctor really likes the anti-Nazi wine.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so basically Yuri comes along, I believe it's Yuri that comes along and ends up freeing both Carson and Kay.
Which also, once again, our doctor, the good doctor, thinks that she is the next step in evolution because she has the husk of one of the monsters on her.
Yes.
And then I have noted, because this is also when, I believe, so I forgot what its name is, but basically, Kay and Yuri have a kind of pet companion with them, and it's something that's just part of the franchise, that ends up
it's
driving.
It's not really relevant in the movie. Yeah,
because he only shows up like once or twice. But shows up with basically their ship, so they have all their weaponry now. And it gets dropped in, and then basically falls into a hole. And we see Kay, Yuri, and Carson go into that hole. And when they come up, they're all decked out in power gear. And then a power ballad plays, and I have this note: time for a power ballad and a shit ton of flashing.
It was painful. Just the amount of it was a cool fight, but it was just flashes all over the place.
Yeah, I was actually in genuine pain.
Also, I have to note, because at this point, Dr. Wattsman also brings up or unleashes his aliens that he has to fight them, or I guess that he gets made with his DNA.
Well, they're newly injected with the DNA, yeah.
Which I have noted, especially because it's, I guess, came from Kay, that what they are fighting are titty aliens with notable asses.
Very nice asses, yes.
Yes. And yeah.
Don't they also have like tentacles too?
Yeah, I think they have a couple tentacles as well.
But no heads. They have no heads.
Yeah,
right.
No heads.
So basically, there is a huge fight scene of Kay and Yuri just blowing a whole bunch of them away. Also, Carson gets in a little bit on the fight, but what he is more after is that wine, because we get a little bit of his backstory. He is essentially a thief, and the one thing that he had taken away from him is basically he stole that wine. But when he stole the wine, he ended up getting like he was in an alley and he get popped by the butler.
He got fucking mugged by the butler.
Who really wanted that wine as well. And the butler and Carson get into a fight. And the butler has essentially a lightsaber. That's like this. It's almost like a stun baton, kind of like retractable club kind of thing that has a laser sword at the end of it. And basically they get into a fight, but unfortunately Carson gets stabbed. And then it's also, what's great is that you see the scene happen as basically all the audio stops. And it's just in slow motion. Like a fight scene's happening in the background. And there's just nothing here, nothing playing. So yes. Also while this is going on, there's a whole bunch of explosions as Kay and Yuri fight the aliens. And then Kay and Yuri end up find Carson bleeding on this little walkway thing. And they have kind of a little, they have a speech together and basically saying, oh, hey, I like you. And then basically have a discussion that it's great because there is a line there that I really like. And that basically it's like Carson, they call back to Carson basically saying, hey, you said that when we were out of here that you were going to do something. And then Carson says, I can't remember anything because I've lost too much blood.
Yup. Doesn't she also then give him a gun from her power armor?
I believe so.
And then he has the wine in the other hand that he pops the fuck open and starts drinking out of.
Yes.
So he's like, it's some good wine.
At that point, basically you see that scene where Carson does that and basically blasts a whole bunch of aliens, and then over the top plays, and it's a really good song. And then basically Kay and Yuri come across Dr. Wattsman, and they end up capturing him.
Yeah, over the top plays as they proceed to fuck everything the hell up.
Yes. And then basically, there's a scene that looks like Kay is about to kill Dr. Wattsman, but they end up not. They end up capturing him and the butler. And then there's sad violins as they kind of go to the thing with them in tow. But it turns out Carson lived. And basically is wounded, but is alive. And basically they have a reunion, or a happy reunion. And basically they fly away. But then as they're flying away, they see that they have the lightsaber thing, or basically they take it. I think they take it from someone, or they just happen to have it.
The lightsaber was the butler's, and they took it from him.
They took it from him, but then it's either Kay or Yuri kind of takes a look at it and is like, as it's flying away and you see this happy music playing, they see the lightsaber and it's like, we don't need this. They throw it over the edge. And it falls. And it falls. Falls onto a control panel. And activates Project Eden. And what we see next is everyone dying.
Literally everyone on the planet getting swarmed with aliens as they come out from underneath the crust of the planet and proceed to swarm everything. And literally we see everyone dying on the planet as they leave.
Especially the American dude who was boning his secretary at the time.
Yep. But hey, Kay got laid. It's a happy ending.
And then the credits,
Exactly.
and then the credits in which Kay and Yuri are laying or sitting in cocktail baths
That look extremely uncomfortable.
But yeah, and then that's how it ends.
That's how,
in usual Dirty Pair fashion, everything's fucking destroyed. But
everyone
mission
dies.
accomplished.
Yep. Yeah, that's how that ends.
It was an absolutely fantastic movie and a lot of fun the whole way through.
Yes, absolutely.
It is an incredibly fun movie. It's great. Then they made a really shitty game based on it. That had almost
it's like astounding how bad the game is, and then how fucking fantastic the movie is.
It's ridiculous.
Man, watching that movie and then going back to that game, holy man. I mean, you can kind of see some of the things, like they had the alien enemies, they had the little glider thing. There was some base going in, but Lord howdy, that game sucked even more now. Because it's like, man, you could have made something really cool, but no, you didn't.
You made this.
Yeah. I can't think of any other Dirty Pair games. So I think there might be some based on the original Dirty Pair for like a really early Japanese computer, but man. Yeah, that sucked, especially for that movie, because that movie's really good.
Yeah.
The movie was incredibly fun the whole way through. Like, it was great, and the cause, we were just fucking losing it the entire goddamn time.
Yeah, that was such a good movie. So
I was even tempted to watch it a second time right after we'd watched it.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I kind of would want to watch it in Japanese. That way I could at least make sure of which voice actor is which. But yes. And that's a real shame that that's not available for anything. Like, I really wish that there was like a Blu-ray version of it.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Blu-ray version in Japan, but...
Yeah, maybe, but it's not going to be in English.
Yeah.
The issue is Streamline and ADV are both dead.
Well, yes.
Let's not get into the hot fucking quagmire mess that is Sentai Film.
Sentai Filmworks!
Can't believe they bought ADV for $1.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I think let's go ahead and rank this thing. So,
like 2 or 3 easily.
Yeah, let's see. So, just to kind of clarify, if this is for some reason your first episode of Media Delta, or I guess Retro Rank Rhapsody, which you should probably puts a lot of this in context. But anyway, we have a 1 to 21 rating scale for what we rank these. With 1 being what we consider Universal Mastercraft, which is basically top of the top with basically it's no niche or basically it's just a phenomenal thing all around. To 21, which is basically don't even bother. There is not even ironic value in listening to or watching this. It's just not good. So yeah, let's so we have our essence list, which is what this will go in. So yeah, so
like I said, easily 2 or 3.
Yeah, so Torpid, what are your thoughts?
I'd say like maybe a 3.
Yeah, I can definitely see. I'm thinking 3 for this.
That's fine with me.
Because it's just a really good movie.
It's incredibly fun the whole way through.
Yeah.
The pacing is actually surprisingly good.
Yeah, because
there's one kind of lull, which is around the time the bath happens, but other than that...
Yeah, it's like when it's starting to get going and they're like first going into the base. Which just makes it a little slow, but other than that, it's just a phenomenal movie all around. In this 6, I think?
That was 80... I'll look it up.
I have 86.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Okay, and this was directed by...
Also help, I'm listening to the OST now.
You have only yourself.
You say it like it's a bad thing, Carnival.
Probably what I should do after this. So this was the
It's
theatrical
so
release.
fucking good.
Okay,
Sci-fi.
It's space.
Yes.
It is space.
Sci-fi. And
Anime.
okay, I was gonna say it's either anime or I do have a tone that was only acceptable in the 80s.
I mean, it is 80s as hell. Let's be real.
Yeah, I think this is more fitting of 80s.
Dirty Parrot is the 80s.
True.
This
It's
100% better than the game.
Yeah, that's not even a question. So yes, we also check to see if it is better than game. Kind of photosensitivity, that is kind of
Photosensitivity.
also technically I guess I should put H there because there is some slight, like, surprisingly low for something you'd imagine to be very fan servicey, but it's still there.
Music is fucking
Music is good.
So to talk about like pointing out things like music, charm, cinematography, theatric or kind of storytelling, the action, and the art. I
kind of want to put thumbs up across the board.
Yeah, I kind of just want to go a whole across the board thing.
The one thing I would maybe question putting a thumbs up is the story itself, because it is...
The story was, very basic. Even if I enjoy the entire idea being that this mad scientist is a fucking idiot who's up his own ass.
Yeah, that's fair. The story itself isn't, like, something completely...
Like, I still love the mad scientist thinking that he created something new, only to be just normal-ass people.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we have for the yays? I don't remember the emojis for this one.
Yeah, because it's... let's see, what do we got? We have... for yay, we have Can't Be Charmed, Just Plain Cool, Made with Abundant Love, and
Made
Simply
with
Fun.
Abundant Love. Made with Abundant Love.
I would also say simply fun. Actually, no, because there's also the neutral stuff right above that, so I kind of want to look at that too.
Let's see, we got cinematic... And also remember some of these are from the games more. So cinematics, color palette, camera, that's not going to work for this. Length, it definitely doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Sound effects, and yeah,
I'd say like Made with Abundant Love. Also simply fun.
Yeah, those work. Let's see.
Oh hey, Over the Top just came on.
Weird. So we got that, and we got that. Let's see. Anything to point? I can't think of anything really to point out.
Nope. Seems fine to me.
Yeah, this movie is just really good.
It's really fucking good.
Yeah. It's like an hour, it was an hour and a half.
An hour and a half, something like.
Yeah, so it is pretty good. But yeah, I think that will do it for Dirty Pair Project Eden. So, with that, is there anything that either of you want to plug?
I guess as its old hat, I will plug Boogeyman Buddies, actual play tabletop podcast that both Torp and I are on. There's different campaigns going on that are thankfully labeled fairly well, so you won't have to worry about where to start.
So,
I mean, I need to plug the holes these aliens are crawling through because it's becoming a huge fucking problem.
you really should get that checked out. You seem to have a lot of holes.
Lewd.
I suppose. Anyway, with that brings us to that closes out our discussion on Dirty Pair Project Eden and brings us to what we're talking about next week. So next week we are talking about we are finally breaking free of anime and actually talking about a movie, like a live action movie.
You'll never be free of anime.
I mean, this
You'll never be free.
Also, to be fair, this practically is an anime because we are talking about the live-action Street Fighter movie, the one starring Jean-Claude Van Damme.
So good. I fucking love this movie so much.
And that is going to be our discussion for next week, and we have plenty of people to talk about it, so it's going to be it's going to be a very interesting episode. It's going to break formula for a thing that has only been around for a couple weeks. Or in this case.
So good!
Yes, we will talk about that more in depth next week. So, with that, thank you all for watching. For listening, I guess. Because it's an audio thing.
Words.
Goodbye.
Thank you all for listening to Media Delta. If you want to see the full ranking list for yourself, you can go to r3.ldp.life in your browser, and that will take you straight to the list. If you would like to watch Retro Rank Rhapsody, this show's sister series in which we play the games that the shows that we are talking about on Media Delta are based on, you can watch them be recorded live on Twitch at twitch.tv/loadthepuzzlo. Episodes are recorded live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays, and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. Or, alternatively, you can watch all episodes on YouTube by going to youtube.ldp.life. You can follow the show's Twitter by going to @HazelTownStory, or my personal Twitter @LoloThePuzzlo. If you want to discuss the show with others, you can join the official Discord channel by going to discord.ldp.life in your browser, where you can also vote in polls to determine what episodes will be coming next for both Retro Rank Rhapsody and Media Delta. Again, thank you all for listening, and I hope that you come back for the next episode.